Good evening, councillors, ladies and gentlemen, members of the press. Welcome to the June 2024 council meeting for the town of Cottesloe. I'm Mayor Lorraine Young. I will be presiding over this evening's meeting. I will draw your attention to the disclaimer on the inside of the agenda pack, and I will remind everyone present that this evening's meeting will be recorded with the intent to publish on the town's website, and anyone attending and speaking may be captured on that recording and may appear on the town's website. I would like to start by acknowledging the Whadjuk Noongar people, the traditional custodians of the land where we're meeting this evening, and pay respects to the elders past, present and emerging. I'm going to move to public question time. We have a few public questions, and I'll just remind members of the public of the provisions in our local law relating to public participation. It is a maximum of 3 minutes per person and a maximum of 15 minutes in total at this stage. Questions should be put succinctly without unnecessary preamble and expression of opinion. So the first public questions are from Mr. Stephen Mellor. Mr. Mellor, would you like to come forward and put your questions?
Good evening, councillors, members of the public, media and administration staff. My questions tonight on the Lillian Street tree. At the agenda forum, fear of setting a precedent was a concern raised. Was not a precedent set when the council itself removed 2 healthy established trees at the Anderson Pavilion without any public consultation? I don't believe alternative solutions were exhausted. And where are the 6 replacement trees? I've just seen 2 on the verge there. I am a green advocate, but should not common sense apply and allow the request, particularly that the neighbours support and all those other neighbours only have a single tree each? With regard to the Indiana Tea House development, it is, if the discussion on the proposal is to be behind closed doors, can you please outline to the public here tonight what in general and in process terms is being discussed? Can you outline, subject to tonight's council decision, what are the next likely steps and possible time frame? Does it concern a discussion on in principle approval of the proposal or parts thereof? Is it a business plan being put to council to note or for approval? Is it a community engagement plan? At the reading out after the closed door session tonight, will council please also provide the supporting rationale so that the community can be better informed of what's going on? When will allowable supporting documents and reports be made public for our better understanding, redacted or not? Has the council received confirmation from the Surf Club that it accepts its boat shed relocation in the proposal and that is logistically, practically operable and safe? Do the Environment, First Nations and Heritage reports on the proposal approve in principle the concept for the boat shed relocation? Has the proposal been considered by the Reconciliation Action Group, particularly in relation to the boat shed on the rocks, on the ceremonial site, and any connection to the Surf Club above? Has there been a coastal hazard risk analysis and ocean defence strategy for both the Indiana and the relocated boat shed? Has the council been convinced by the original Indiana proposal arborist report that the Norfolk Island pines can be protected in the development building works? From my understanding, Norfolk Island pine roots are more surface than deep, and I cannot believe branches will not need to be trimmed to avoid brushing the planned hotel. There are also other trees in the location. Will they be replaced in lieu, 3 to 1? It is clear the Indiana needs a lick of paint, or better upkeep from what I can see. With summer season ahead and any building works, it will be quite some time off. Is the town satisfied with the current state of the building? Will you confirm that local consultation on any Indiana proposal will be separate from and precede any statewide consultation process. Please refer to my email I sent to councillors this morning. What is the current progress status of the town's short-term accommodation policy when such accommodation is in the car parks use strategy, the Scene Pines development, and that accommodation demand is in the statement by the proponent? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mellor. Regarding the Lillian Street tree, the Anderson Pavilion site is not covered by the street tree policy, so the questions there are... Oh, sorry, could you hear me? Yeah. So the street tree policy doesn't apply to trees on the Anderson Pavilion. In relation to the Indiana Tea House redevelopment, it is recommended at this stage that will be discussed behind closed doors, and as such, all discussion relating to that is confidential at this stage. So I'm not able to answer the rest of your questions this evening. That's all related. It's all related. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mellor. Then Mrs. Yvonne Hart. I have public... Oh, you're making a public statement or public questions? Oh, sorry. You've filled out the public question form, so I'll just, with your permission, change that to public statement. Public statement? Just if you bear with me, I think, yes, we only had one set of questions from the public, so yes, Mrs. Hart, I'll take, if you'd like to make your statement. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, my public statement relates to item 13.1.3, which is the Indiana redevelopment. There are 3 points I would like to make in relation to that agenda item, and I circulated my public statement to elected members earlier this afternoon. So the first point I would like to make as a public statement is that at the state government level, statutory approval is required to permit any change of use to the A-class reserve on which Indiana sits. I urge you to let the developers know that this council upholds state government legislation and will not allow a private hotel on an A-class reserve. My point number 2, at the local level, Town of Cottesloe has a beach policy. The beach policy limits construction west of Marine Parade to replacement only, with no significant expansion of the footprint, height or mass of an existing structure. That beach policy itself requires public review before any replacement of the policy can be considered. And my point number 3 relates to the lease agreement. Implementing land tenure and commercial lease processes to advantage the developer should be a major concern to council. To overcome years of uncertainty and lack of control that has hamstrung council, the current ground lease should be replaced with a commercial lease that is attached to a retained and improved Indiana. A 50-year lease suggested by the developer is not an option. A lease incentive proposed by the developer as a source of income for Cottesloe should be precluded from lease negotiations. A head lease operated by the Town of Cottesloe, plus multiple subleases and licences that are 100% owned by Tattering, could be an ongoing nightmare. So in conclusion, I urge you to be a strong council and put a stop to any expansion of the existing footprint of Indiana. Council Plan 22-23 says it all. Provide strategic leadership, develop financially responsible governance, and maintain legislative compliance. And the council plan also states engage, inform and actively involve our community in council decision making. So once council has made a decision tonight, I urge you to release all the agenda papers, reports and recommendations, minus any legal advice, in order to provide full transparency to ratepayers about Cottesloe's most celebrated asset, its main beach. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs Hart. Mr Peter Rattigan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Peter Rattigan, Grant Street, Cottesloe. Just briefly on the Indiana, some short history facts. The Indiana site is actually two buildings. It's the original pavilion, and over the top of that is the Indiana itself. So during the 1970s, the Cottesloe Surf Lifesaving Club had a standalone boat shed down near the groin. That was destroyed by Cyclone Elby, I think in 78, and the insurance payout was $45,000. After that, the club and the council went into a joint venture to build the pavilion, which sits underneath the Indiana, and the cost of that was $180,000. So the Cottesloe Surf Club is a joint owner of that part of the building. In about 20 years ago, the Indiana was built on top of that. So originally the pavilion had open change rooms and toilets, and that worked very well. It was only after it was closed in that it didn't work very well. So anything that happens to that site has to be done with the consent of the joint owner, who's a one-quarter owner of the pavilion, not of the Indiana. Now, moving on to the main thing that I wanted to talk about, which is the green infrastructure strategy. Congratulations to council for actually moving forward with this. There's a huge desire, in my respectful opinion, amongst the people of Cottesloe for more trees and a greening. And Madam Mayor, you're probably aware that the Cottesloe Tree Canopy advocates put forward a plan to do some infill planting, have the council do infill planting along Grant Street amongst the Norfolk Island pines. And the Tree Canopy advocates did a survey, door-to-door survey, of all the people fronting Grant Street between Curtin Avenue and Marine Parade. Of the 41 people who answered the survey, 91% wanted more trees along in the median strip. There was one person who opposed the plan. There was one person who was didn't know, didn't have an opinion, and one person who was for more trees but not as proposed. So there's an overwhelming desire, in our view, for the people of Cottesloe to have more trees, and we wholeheartedly support the council in moving forward, albeit a little bit slower than one would have hoped, but eventually something may happen and the greening of the town will eventually happen. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Rattigan. Camille Gibson? Is Camille? Hi.
So I'll be just making a statement about 10.1.4, the Green Infrastructure Strategy Public Consultation. And I agree with Peter that we both sort of represent the Cottesloe Tree Canopy advocates. We are wholeheartedly in support, and we've been really waiting for this to eventuate. So this statement is basically to acknowledge the work that's gone into the preparation of a green infrastructure strategy and to thank Council for arriving at the public consultation stage in such a timely manner. There's plenty packed into the strategy, but there's a number of points that are noteworthy, and here's just a few. So prioritising a strategic approach to and suggesting targets for increasing the tree canopy to 30% by 2040, which is the recognised percentage of tree cover to actually mitigate against rising temperatures and urban heat islands that we're experiencing more and more, with loss of tree canopy and more infill development that can sometimes be thoughtless in regard to vegetation. And to thank the Council for the opportunity to let the community express their views on the strategy, and including tree retention strategies on private property, which has been highlighted as a risk, but it's something that really needs to be addressed. And also the community, as Peter has said, has really expressed through our networks in the community, they really do want to preserve our green infrastructure and expand the tree canopy. So we will be, as a group, spreading the word about the survey when it's released later in July, and we'll be encouraging everyone to make a statement. I'm also pleased to see that there was some acknowledgement about drying climate, in particular in regard to the management and future of the Norfolk Island pines, because we know that people love them, but realistically, and I'm glad the Council's taken that into account, that the climate has meant that, they've really come to the end of their time. And also it's interesting and important that Council has taken into account that there may be rates charged if people would like to retain and continue to managing the Norfolk Island pines. I think that's important because there is a cost involved in that, as much as we love them. Also, we've known from our own dealings with the Cottesloe community, there are a number of people who don't use email, some of the more elderly folk. So I noticed in there that there's hard copies going to be available of the survey that can be made available to those who won't be interested in using an electronic survey. So thank you very much, and rest assured that we'll be circulating that survey and getting everyone to make a statement, hopefully in support.
Thank you, Ms Gibson. Thank you. Stephen Mellor.
Steve Mellor from Graham Court, speaking as an independent ratepayer. I really wanted to speak on the Indiana, but I've discovered what I see as a serious mistake in governance, and I need first to raise another matter. I bring to your attention and refer to the minutes of the May OCM item 10.1.2 and the subsequent council public notice to amend the dog exercise area, the John Black Dune Reserve, pursuant to Section 31 of the Dog Act. In the Local Government Act 95, absolute majority means a majority comprising enough of the members for the time being of the council for their number to be more than 50% of the offices, whether vacant or not. The unconfirmed minutes state equality 3-3, for and against. The presiding member exercised the casting vote for the motion, carried 4-3. I question how the resolution could have been carried, even incorrectly with the presiding member's casting vote, as it is not an absolute majority. 5, not 3 is required. In the 2019 Department Guide to Preparation of Agendas and Minutes, it is important to note the Act always requires the presiding member to cast a second vote on a matter when the votes are tied. But because the requirements for an absolute majority decision are based on the number of positions on a council or committee, that second vote must not be counted towards the numbers required for an absolute majority. Before confirming the minutes from the May OCM tonight, they need to be amended from 3.3 carried, in my opinion, to 3.3 lost, not obtaining absolute majority. I look forward to your response and remedy. I've stopped my timer here because I would like to talk on the Indiana if I'm allowed, but whether you want to respond to that now.
No, if you want to go ahead on the... Thanks.
Okay. I refer to the major strategy 4.1, engage, inform and actively involve our community for council decision making. After 2.5 years, the community has had almost no information on a basis on which to discuss with our elected members on the surprise addition in the agenda tonight. This does not feel like open and transparent engagement or active community involvement. I wish to point out that the retention and redevelopment of the Indiana was only mentioned in passing in the original architecture competition first put to the community. The extra new hotel was never included in those concepts, but appeared in the current December 2021 proposal. Please do not approve that new hotel building. I believe the community would support much of the proposal. At the February 22 special electors meeting, the electors were prevented from considering and voting on a motion from the floor on the concept, but without the hotel element of the proposal. Assuming the specialist reports that we have not seen have no major detracting concerns, there are 4 issues I have concern with the proposal. The exclusive use of any areas of the development, particularly the ocean view rooftop. This iconic destination is a public asset on Crown Reserve land. The new 31-room hotel is not compliant with the beach policy, nor the state heritage listing of the Cottesloe Beach precinct on which it would stand. I'm concerned about local parking demand and the shortfall of spaces, and not wanting the proposal in whatever form to be approved under pressure of income generation for the town. In other words, not selling the silver. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mallour. In relation to the item that you referred to and the required majority, yes, the required majority. That is something that the town will have to look into. The minutes can still be passed because they do accurately reflect what happened at the meeting, but you have raised a point that will be need to be looked into and addressed. But as I say, they do reflect what happened. The formalities around that can be reviewed. Thank you for raising that. But that won't be dealt with tonight. And I will ask the CEO to look into that. Thank you. Final, I think, is public statement. Katie McCoskey.
Good evening, and thank you for your time. My name is Katie McCoskey, and I'm the owner of 3 Lillian Street, Cottesloe, with my husband Simon. Simon sends his apologies. With limited family support, we often divide and conquer, so tonight he's on bedtime duty for our 3 children. And I think he mentioned something about a deadline as I walked out the door. 3 Lillian Street is the site of our future family home. It has been a challenging lot to work with at only 10 metres wide, and we have spent over a year designing it and engaging with our neighbours to ensure their satisfaction. Before purchasing the property in December 2022, we also reached out to the town seeking advice regarding the birch trees, as it was clear that the smaller of the 2 trees would negatively impact our design plans. The engineering team member I spoke with said that the town would likely support the removal of the tree given the limited parking, narrowness of the lot, and because the town no longer favour Queensland box trees. This advice made sense to us. We took it at face value and proceeded. At the time, I didn't think to write down the engineer's name, and I can't recall it now. I simply accepted the advice as reasonable and assumed it would be consistent when we submitted our plans 14 months later. You can imagine our shock when the town said otherwise earlier this year. I share this backstory to demonstrate that we have consistently aimed to do what is right at every turn. We have not acted hastily, and in the last 3 months, we have spent many hours with our architect, town planner, and the town trying to design around the issue. Needless to say, we are disappointed to find ourselves here this evening, but welcome the opportunity to put forward our case. The presence of the tree presents a genuine safety concern for us. Each time we exit our driveway, we will have to perform 5 corrective manoeuvres, navigating around the tree, or looking out for children and traffic, or while managing our own 3 kids in the back seat. Our neighbours directly opposite our house have 3 children under 6 years of age, and our neighbour next door at number 5 have 2 boys even younger. So the presence of children playing nearby is a real concern, not just a hypothetical one. While removing the 4-metre tall box tree will result in a temporary loss of about 12 square metres of canopy, just 0.002% from the entire town, it is a canopy that will never get bigger as we know from the town's arborist that the tree is only just surviving. In contrast, planting 3 new trees at our cost, as per the street tree policy, will contribute a greater canopy over time. The town can select an appropriate species, and they can be planted in areas where they can thrive with an extensive canopy. Removing the box tree addresses a safety issue and allows for 3 new thriving trees to be planted, which makes sense to me and is also supported by our close neighbours who have written to the town advising they are in favour of the tree's removal. Regarding precedents, our situation is unique, with 7 specific challenges that are difficult to replicate. Because of this, granting our request would not set a precedent. Rather, it simply acknowledges the exceptional challenges our property faces and prioritises safety and tree canopy.
Ms McCoskey, could I ask members of the public to not talk while Ms McCoskey is speaking?
Thank
I am
you.
going to have to. I have allowed most people this evening to go over time. I will allow you to speak just for a short while, but can you please wrap
it
up?
I'm almost done. Yep.
Thanks.
If you approve our request to remove the street tree, you are saying yes to prioritising safety, which is a requirement of the crossover policy, and you are saying yes to increasing the town's long-term canopy. You're also following your own policy to support the removal of a tree in decline. Further advantages include greater off-street parking and a consistent streetscape. There is no downside. Thank you for your thoughtful consideration.
Thank you very much, Ms McCoskey. That is the end of public statement time. I haven't got any other forms before me if anyone else wishes to speak. I shall move on then. This evening we have no apologies. And we have Councillor Harkins and Councillor Wilinko on approved leaves of absence. We do have Councillor Sonia Heath attending remotely. That's Councillor Heath up on the screen there. Councillor Heath has satisfied the requirements of the Act in terms of remote attendance, and I have approved for her to attend remotely. Applications for leave of absence. Does anyone...
Just through the chair, I've just noticed that we're missing Miss Stavronopoulos in the attendance from the
okay.
officers,
Yeah.
so if we can just add that, we'll add that
Yeah,
to the minutes.
yeah, thank you. Hi. Are there any applications for leave of absence from elected members? Councillor Heath? Councillor Irvine? Sorry.
Yes, Mayor, I'm looking to be absent for vacation 16th of August to the 2nd of September.
So you'll be on leave 16th of August until...
The 2nd of September.
Okay. I move that Councillor Irvine be granted leave of absence from the 16th of August to the 2nd of September. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Thomas. All in favour? You vote as well. Yep. That's unanimous. Thank you. Now, declarations of interest in respect of items on the agenda this evening. I'll start with Councillor Sadler.
Nil.
Councillor Irvine.
Yes, 13.1.3 Indiana Tea House Development Impartiality Interest. I'm a member of the Cottesloe Surf Club. In 2022, the council elections in my campaign, based on community feedback, I was a no to the hotel with the proposed redevelopment. Despite membership interest, past statements reported in the media, I can assess the Indiana Tea House redevelopment proposal on the recommendation from the officer based on the current facts, exhaustive reports and information made available to me as a councillor.
Thank you, Councillor Irvine. Any other declarations of interest? Okay. Confirmation of the minutes of council meeting held on Tuesday, 28 May 2024. Do I have a mover that they be confirmed as a true and accurate record? Councillor Bullbeck, and a seconder, Councillor Irvine. All in favour?
I didn't attend. Do I?
You do have to still vote. Yeah. peculiarity. So that was, could I just ask please for that vote to be taken again? That's unanimous, thank you. And we will, Mr Malor, look into the matter that you've raised, but as I've said, it will be... I don't know, that's what we'll look into exactly. So we don't have petitions, presentations or deputations. Have we got a list of everything called up? Oh.
But
Hang on, I think we need to... I haven't... Yeah, okay. So, thank you. Right, hang on. So which ones have been called up? 10.1.4? You called, Councillor Mason, did you call it up? Yeah, have you submitted your call-ups? We don't seem to have... okay, I'll just put them here. Sorry. Okay. So the items that have been called up by elected members for debate are 10.1.4, Green Infrastructure Strategy Public Consultation, 10.1.5, 3 Lillian Street Tree Removal Request, and all items under item 13, meeting closed to the public. So that's 13.1.1, Lifeguard Services Tender, 13.1.2, Supply, Installation and Maintenance of Shark Barrier, and 13.1.3, Indiana Tea House Redevelopment. All other items which have not been called up, I'll go through them. 10.1.1, monthly financial statements for the period 1 July to 30 April 24. 10.1.2, Town of Cottesloe Innovate RAP. 10.1.3, Western Central Local Emergency Management Arrangements Review. That's it. So does somebody want to move that these items be dealt with en bloc? Councillor Thomas, and a seconder for that, Councillor Sadler. All in favour? That's unanimous, and the effect of that motion is that the matters will be determined... Oh, Councillor Heath, I beg your pardon, I haven't... Yes, sorry, Councillor Heath there as well. Could I ask... can you ask somebody to monitor Councillor Heath? Yeah, just remind me to include her, thanks. Those items are passed in terms of the officer's recommendation. I would like to move that the order of business be changed so that we consider item 10.1.5, 3 Lillian Street tree removal as the first item, and then item 13.1.3, Indiana Tea House redevelopment as the second item, and then follow the agenda as follow the order of business as per the agenda. That's in consideration of members of the public who are attending tonight who may be less interested in the other matters. Do I have a seconder for that change to the order of business? Councillor Irvine. Can I put it to the vote? All in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you. Can you just remind me? Yep, thank you. So, 10.1.5, 3 Lillian Street tree removal request on page 26. The officer's recommendation is on page... Here we are. 36. Yes, the recommendation is on page 36. Councillor Mason, you're moving yours as an alternate motion. Yeah, and so you need to do that ahead now. Yes, thank you.
Okay, excuse me, I'd like to raise my alternative motion for item 10.1.5, 3 Lillian Street removal request, and resolve to approve the tree removal as follows. Number 1, approves the applicant's request to remove a tree in front of 3 Lillian Street. Number 2, authorises the CEO or delegate to approve the double crossover design as proposed on the applicant's development application for a single dwelling. And 3, requires the applicant to pay for the cost of the street tree removal and make a $1,872 offset planting contribution equivalent to 3 street trees as per the town schedules of fees and charges.
Yeah, you've moved that?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Is there a seconder? I will second that motion. Thank you. Would you like to speak to the motion? Oh, sorry. Councillor Heath, I've seconded it, but you can speak to it.
So my rationale first?
Yes, please.
Yes. It is important to note that the administration is bound to apply council policies in accordance with their terms, and in that respect, the relevant staff have done their job. However, council is not bound by its policies and can apply some flexibility where circumstances warrant. There are site-specific circumstances that apply here and that need to be taken into consideration, including Lillian Street is a very narrow street. Reducing cars parked on the street and easing congestion by providing 4 car spaces on the driveway would greatly help the efficiency and safety of the street. The tree's growth is being severely hampered by the first bigger mature tree, impacting sunlight to the second tree. The tree is not contributing to the canopy. It is the only house with 2 trees. The placement of the tree is likely to have caused its stunted growth, being between 2 other mature trees. The dimension of the verge is both narrow and shallow, with a robust tree already providing canopy, which is an important distinction for this site. The dimension of the verge also contributes to making manoeuvring tighter and significantly more difficult. The above condition to require a contribution for the planting of 3 trees within the district is a positive contribution to the town. The current tree could also be transplanted within the district where it will thrive and be able to contribute to our overall tree canopy in a more suitable location. It is made clear by council that this approval is not setting precedent as it is site-specific and taking into account the current condition of the tree and its limited scope for improvement in its current location.
Thank you, Councillor Mason. I'll just speak very briefly. I note that the tree is not thriving, and I think that is a function of the size of the verge. It is a very small verge, and given that there is already a very significant and quite good specimen on the verge that is to be retained, I think it is not appropriate for us to expect the resident to design a family house that will probably be around for a long, long time and serve multiple families, to have to design that around a tree which is in a poor state and may or may not be around for very long. I do note in the local newspaper this week there was some comment, and I think it was seen as an irony, that council is considering consulting the community on the Green Infrastructure Management Plan, which does contemplate the possibility of council taking some control over trees on private property, and then we're considering the removal of a tree on a verge. I think this is actually an opportunity for council to demonstrate that we will exercise any power that is given to us in respect of trees in a responsible way with some flexibility and pragmatism. So I think if we want the community to give us any support for looking after trees on private property, we have to show that we will not be slavish in our application of policy and that we will respond appropriately. This is a very unique case, and so I am quite comfortable with supporting it. Did anyone want to speak against the... yes, Councillor Thomas?
Yeah, so I'll be voting against this amendment. So based on the officer's report and also going to have a look at the site, my judgment is the tree is in good health, and looking at the crossover plans and looking at the driveway, I think the access is manageable, and so I don't think those points warrant going against the policy. I also, walking down that street, saw a number of other single crossovers going into double garage, also with, tricky access. My own house has a somewhat tricky access. I think you get used to it very quickly. Regarding the safety, I think having a driveway reversing straight back onto the street actually has safety impacts, because you'll be likely to reverse faster and potentially miss people on the sidewalk. So actually having that sort of detour, I think, would improve safety. Yep, that's it.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Now, Councillor Heath, you did have your hand up. Would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, I'll just be brief. I agree with both the two people that have supported it previously mentioned. It's a unique situation. I'm also taking into account that the neighbours in that street are all very supportive, and I don't think we should lightly override their wishes. And I think there'll be a great result if we can get 3 more trees if this poor specimen is removed. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Heath. Does anyone else want to speak to the motion? Councillor Sadler?
Look, thank you. I would like to speak against the motion and foreshadow the officer's recommendation. And while I really respect the desire of the applicant to have a double garage backing out to a double driveway, I would support what Councillor Thomas has said, both with regard to safety, and that when one slows down, and we use deviations on roads all the time to slow people down, it's actually not a negative. It is at best neutral from a safety point of view, but used as a strategy for improving things. So I wouldn't include that in my considerations. I think one of the things we need to do with our green infrastructure strategy is actually identify trees that are not thriving, and to say those trees need more attention. So we've now identified a tree which is not dying, but we've said it needs some attention. And if we removed every tree which needed attention in Cottesloe, we'd actually be going backwards very quickly. So I wouldn't want to use that as a consideration. It looks like we've identified something which needs a little bit of assistance. And I think that when I look around Cottesloe, there are a large number of double garages going on to single driveways, and with deviations multiple in the streets that I've looked around when I was sort of wandering around Cottesloe, and I noticed them all the time. So I think that while it's not perfect, I think we have an existing tree here, and I would prefer to support the officer's recommendation. And I think it's actually not necessarily us who thinks that there's a precedent. Community feel, we've found that when I've been on council for 7 years now, when one has a firmer approach and a consistent approach to trees, we start seeing that the community realises that we have a firm direction and are taking a responsible and consistent direction. So I'd like to continue that responsible and consistent direction with regard to our tree canopy, and to support the officer's recommendation and that foreshadowed recommendation. Thank you.
Did anyone else want to speak to the motion?
I'll sum up.
No, I need to find out first. Does anyone else want to speak? Councillor Mason, you can sum up. You can reply to points raised in argument.
Thank you. So I think that given Lillian Street is so narrow, reducing congestion on this narrow street is important. I think that given the neighbours are supportive and that the incorrect placement of the tree, the leaves are definitely yellowing. It cannot be easily remedied as there is no way for it to reach the sunlight given the growth of the mature tree next to it. I think that it is important that we demonstrate the ability to be flexible as a council, and that this is a very positive outcome for the town, getting 3 new trees and also moving this tree to somewhere where it can thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mason. I'm going to put the alternative motion to the vote. All in favour? That's 1, 2, that's Councillors Mason, Heath, Irvine and Mayor Young. Against? That's Councillors Bulbeck, Sadler and Thomas. The alternate motion is passed. Thank you. I'm going to now move to item 13.1.3. I shall get there. 13.1.3, this is an item for which the administration has recommended the meeting shall be closed. I move that the meeting be closed on the basis that the exact wording is.
Through the Chair, this item is considered confidential. Through the Chair, this item is considered confidential in accordance with the Local Government Act 1995, section 5.23, subsection 2, subsection C and D, as it contains information relating to a contract entered into, or which may be entered into by the local government and which relates to a matter that has been discussed at the meeting, and legal advice obtained, of which may be attained by the local government to which relates to the matter being discussed at the meeting.
Okay, so in a nutshell, it's because it concerns a contract that we are considering entering into, and it has legal advice which relates to the item. So I've moved that we close the meeting. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Irvine. All in favour? That's unanimous, thank you. So ladies and gentlemen, we will close the meeting.
We'll stop the recording.
We'll stop the recording. that everyone? Can we close the door? Keep the warm then.
I'll get it.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to read aloud the resolution that was passed by Council in respect of this item. The resolution is that Council 1 revokes Resolution SCM 132/2022 in accordance with Regulation 10, Local Government Administration Regulation 1996. That motion was passed unanimously. The balance of the resolution is as follows. Notes the attached consultant report findings and legal advice attached to this report. 2, does not support the current proposal and will not progress the Section 3.59 business plan with the current Indiana Tea House redevelopment proposal, given A, the significant uncertainty of the financial impacts to the town that have been identified, B, the lack of significant community benefit being provided, and C, inconsistencies with the intent of the adopted Foreshore Master Plan. 3, adopts the attached redevelopment parameters, which the Council believes represents a redevelopment outcome it can support for the purpose of consultation with the Cottesloe community. 4, instructs the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer, CEO, to inform the proponent of the Council decision and to provide the adopted redevelopment parameters for the site. And 5, instructs the CEO to advise the proponent that the town will commence enforcing the maintenance requirements under the lease and that it should resolve all outstanding maintenance issues to the satisfaction of the town within 6 months. And 6, do we have? 6, instructs the CEO to make the adopted redevelopment parameters available to the public at commence of business tomorrow. So that was a decision, 6-1 decision with Councillor Mason in dissent and all other councillors in support. I will make a brief statement on the matter. There's obviously a really high level of interest in the future of the Indiana site and in Council's decision on the Tattarang Group's proposal for redevelopment. I would like to start by confirming that Council does fully support the need for redevelopment of the Indiana Tea House, but after really very careful consideration, it was resolved that we're not able to support the proposal in its current form. There were essentially 3 reasons for Council's decision: insufficient data on which to consider a business case, insufficient community benefit evident in the proposal as it currently stands, and lack of alignment with the community-approved and council-endorsed Cottesloe Foreshore Master Plan. I'll just touch on each of those in turn. Point 1, firstly, we have not been provided with some critical data, including key commercial, environmental and heritage information. We've asked for, but we haven't been given the information needed to assess and understand the financial impact of the proposed redevelopment on the town, or the implications of the risk the proposal asks the town to assume. For example, we don't know what is proposed in terms of rent or contribution towards the cost of providing parking to meet expected increases in demand as a result of the proposal. We also don't, for example, know the level of risk involved to the town in relocating the Surf Life Club boat shed to an area that assessments show is likely to be impacted by rising sea levels in the future. As a result, we're not able to progress a business plan or go through the consultation process that would follow to put the business case to residents. Secondly, the absence of wider community benefit. There are certainly things to like in the proposal. The upgrades to the current building, improved public toilets and change rooms, better universal access, and a new fit-for-purpose boat shed. That said, we have to recognise that as Cottesloe Council, we are the custodians of what is an incredible public asset, and as such we have a responsibility to carefully weigh up any proposed commercial development against the level of community benefit being provided in return. The Indiana site is on one of the metropolitan area's most visited and most famous beach reserves. It is public land and it belongs to all West Australians. Like most Australians, West Australians are very protective of our beaches, and unlike other countries around the world, commercialisation and privatisation of beaches is not a part of our culture. It should not be contemplated unless backed up by very considerable community benefit. In our deliberations, Council concluded that as it currently stands, the community benefit included in the proposal largely replicates amenity already provided or upgrades to amenity required by law or under the current lease. And ultimately, when we balance the commercial development and the exclusive uses proposed against community benefit, we did not find sufficient community benefit for us to support that. And finally, any development proposal should align with the endorsed Foreshore Master Plan. The Foreshore Master Plan is a vision that was adopted in 2019, 2 years before the current redevelopment proposal, and that was to guide the development and management of Cottesloe Beach. It is widely supported and it is a shovel-ready project. The town has invested close to $1 million on detailed design and consultation aimed at ensuring that the foreshore in Cottesloe meets its potential and meets the expectations of the local community, our many visitors, and of course the many tourists who visit Cottesloe Beach. In its current form, the Tattarang proposal doesn't meet the design intent of the Foreshore Master Plan. It's not physically integrated with it or consistent with its underlying principles. I would like to stress that we have welcomed and continue to welcome the opportunity to work with Tattarang and 5/8 towards a redevelopment of the Indiana Tea House that will enhance it as a state landmark and deliver a really great outcome for current and future generations, for locals and for visitors and for tourists. Council has therefore endorsed a set of parameters for redevelopment on the understanding that a redevelopment proposal within those parameters would be supported by Council for the purposes of consulting with our community. And the parameters will be shared with the Tattarang Group and they will be made available to the community on the town's website tomorrow. So thank you very much. That is the resolution in that matter, and I'm going to move now on to the rest of the agenda. I'll call item 10.1.4, Green Infrastructure Strategy Public Consultation. Let me just start. It's on page 20 with the officer's recommendation on, or it starts at the bottom of page 24. Councillor Sadler, you had your hand up.
Just to move it to get things
Okay.
on foot, yes.
And I see Councillor Mason. Are you seconding the strategy? You could do that and then move your amendment.
I just want to, do I foreshadow, because there's two other amendments, and if they get passed, then mine.
You can have as many amendments as you like to a motion, they're not.
Okay.
Shot my hand up because I was making amendments.
Thank you. Yeah, so Councillor Mason, did you want to second it and then, or, yeah, your second? I'll let Councillor Sadler speak and then Councillor Mason, you can move your amendments. And Councillor Bulbeck, I know that you have amendments also. Councillor Sadler?
Look, thank you very much. I shot my hand up because I knew that I wasn't moving any amendments. So thank you very much. And I just wanted to speak in favour of the green infrastructure strategy and say that it's, taken us a long time to get here and there's been a lot of moving parts, but I think by actually pulling it all together in one document like this, we've done a really good job of, say, putting something out to the community, which they can actually digest in one piece rather than actually having to represent little bits and pieces and potentially confounding the community on that. And I'm hoping that with the changes we've made to the consultation that we're going to actually get a sort of richer level of information and guidance upon what the community does want and be more strategic in our tree planting. So with that, I will, call it quits and hand it back over.
Thank you. And Councillor Mason, you can move your amendment now and then we'll deal with that and then you can speak to the substantive motion. And I have, ordinarily I would call them in the order that they're received, but this is a minor amendment, so I don't think anything's lost.
Thank you, Mayor Young. So it was altering the second point, or do I have to read the whole thing?
Yeah, read it
Okay.
so that you can get a seconder.
So that council, point number 2, approves the attached community engagement plan that contains the 3 documents mentioned in point 1 and the survey. And my amendment is begins the public consultation to occur over August 2024 with the results returning to the September 2024 OCM. My rationale is that there are...
Hang on, we just need a seconder before you address your
my
rationale.
apologies.
I'm wondering, can I just seek clarification? Does the report stipulate the length of the period of consultation?
No, Mr. Khan.
Through the chair, so currently the engagement plan suggests a 5-week consultation period. So it's from the 1st of July to the 2nd of August 24.
I understand by Mr. Khan that 1 week delay will mean it will go to the September OCM. So extending even by 1 week, which would be, it would, but I think that it's better this way, given that the 3-week.
I just, originally there was mention of a 2-week consultation period, which I thought was too short, so sorry. Do you have a seconder for the change to the consultation period? I'm happy to second that if nobody else will. Councillor Mason, do you want to speak to the amendment?
Yes. Thank you. The rationale is that there are a number of local high schools that observe a 3-week July school holiday period, given many local families travel overseas during this period, and that given the significance of the CEP and to ensure we are engaging with the broadest section of the community as possible, it is prudent to delay for 1 month to give an opportunity for busy families to be involved in the survey and provide feedback outside of the school holiday period.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Mason. As the seconder, I'll just say I think that we're consulting on two potentially controversial issues, treatment of Norfolk Island pines and any policies that might deal with trees on private property. And I think it's essential, as Councillor Mason has said, that consultation take place when we can optimise the number of people and the reach of the consultation. So I do support that change. Does anyone want to speak against? Councillor Thomas?
Not against the intent, but perhaps just the wording. I think if we could start it, at the moment the wording reads that it will start in August, and then I support having the consultation occurring later to avoid the school holidays, but I would prefer that it would worded such that it could start as soon as possible and then extend past that school holidays period.
Is that something that you would consider?
Well, given that the 3-week school holidays is mostly July, no. So that schools return on 26th of July.
Yeah, I think what Councillor Thomas is suggesting is that it be an extended period that starts now and finishes at the time that you're anticipating.
Sorry, Mr. Khan had said it was 5 weeks.
Yeah, but I think Councillor Thomas is saying we could, that's in the officer's report, but council could resolve if it wished to start it as soon as possible.
And
but
what
for
would
it
be
not,
the end date, sorry?
It would be what we determine, which would be to be completed by the 28th of August.
That's fine, thank you.
So would you be willing to incorporate that into the motion and begins the public consultation as soon as possible?
Yes.
To be completed, be a minimum of, how many weeks would that be? 5?
Completed end of 28th of August.
Yep, to be completed on, what day is 28th August, just in case it's a silly day?
So the Friday is the 23rd or the 30th, if you want a Friday.
What's better for admin?
Through the chair, actually weekends close on the Sunday and then we start the new week.
Sunday the 25th.
Yep.
Thank you.
Sunday, 25th of August. And as a seconder, I'm happy to incorporate that into, I'm happy with that. And I think we've spoken to it, Councillor Thomas. Did you want to speak to the wording at all now, as it stands? Sorry?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Thanks.
Does anyone want to speak against the amendment?
Is it possible to ask a question in relation to the amendment or not of the administration?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. It's just that we've got information here that there will be 3 weeks of non-school holiday that the survey will run under its current proposal. I'm just wondering why, I don't really mind at the end of the day given we've waited so long, but is there a thought that if it starts while the school holidays are occurring, that people won't find out about it? Is that the concern?
Can I respond to that?
No, because that's addressed to the administration. That's, sorry.
Through the concern, I think that would be an opinion of whether or not everyone is impacted by school holidays. So it's difficult to make a statement saying yes or no when it really depends on the individual circumstances. We would certainly be advertising it and promoting it during the entire engagement period.
Thank you.
So does anyone want to speak against the amendment? Councillor Sadler?
Thank you. Look, I would, although I really respect and appreciate Councillor Mason raising the issue of school holidays. I think we have a 5-week period for consultation and a full 2 weeks or 3 weeks, depending whether you've got primary school or secondary school age children in which to actually still do this, and we are all very used to sort of managing our lives. And this has been going on for a very long period of time, and I'm actually keen to progress things. By the time we take out school holidays, take out the Christmas period, it actually leaves very little time for administration to do their jobs. And I think by having a 5-week consultation period, we actually give it, and it'll be very well advertised. You can see the level of input and interest there is in the community already. We will actually get responses, and I am feeling concerned that I think we should note and look at school holiday times and then make sure we extend the length of the consultations long enough that we actually then make sure that everyone's got an opportunity to respond, and then move on, get things done in local government. So for that reason, I support the officer's recommendation with regard to the timing. I'm satisfied that everyone's getting ample opportunity to make their contribution.
Does anyone want to speak to the amendment? Councillor Bulbeck.
Sorry, I just have another. I really apologise if I can have another question. Can I just confirm that the proposed amendment has the consultation period ending on the 26th of August?
25th.
25th of August, and and I'm referring to the email sent by Mr. Khan here to Councillor Sadler, but it suggests there that if the consultation period was 15 July to 15 August, it would miss the August meeting but allow the item to make the September meeting, possibly with an EM workshop briefing. So will going through to the proposed 25th of August actually mean we also miss the September OCM? Through the chair, I guess a question to admin.
Through the chair, going through to the 25th of August would probably make the September meeting. The only thing that it may miss out is the opportunity for council to workshop the results.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to put the amendment to the vote, and there's no right to reply in respect of an amendment.
Oh, don't I sum up?
No, not with an amendment.
I summed up my other amendment motion.
No, that was an alternate motion. So the standing orders, there's amendments.
So I can't speak again?
No.
What if there's inaccuracies in what's been said?
The rules are that you can't speak again.
Thank you.
I'm going to put it to the vote. All in favour of the amendment? It's Councillor Heath, Mason, Thomas and Young against. Councillor Bulbeck, Irvine and Sadler. So the amendment is passed. So back to the substantive motion, but Councillor Bulbeck, did you want to put some of your...
First, there's one amendment and then there's a second amendment. So should I just pose them, start with one?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
Thank you, Stephen. Sorry. So it's in relation to point 2. So it notes the attached blah blah blah, but then approves the attached community engagement plan that contains the 3 documents mentioned in point 1. The Arbus report mentioned on page 111 of the attachments, and the Street Tree Master Plan information sheet showing streets and species mentioned on page 116 of the attachments, and the survey.
With the consent of the seconder, I'd actually be happy just to incorporate that.
There is no seconder at the moment.
No, I'm just saying if there is... Okay, so I can't second
we need
it.
to second
okay.
it, yeah. Why can't you second it?
I move the motion, I was going to say with the approval of...
But you're not moving it, you can second an amendment.
I've moved the substantive, so I apologise, I've preempted there being a second to this, but I was going to say with the approval, I would be happy to incorporate...
You can move an amendment you can second an amendment.
Well, I will second this amendment then. Thank you very much for clarification on the rules. And with the approval of the mover of the amendment, I'd be happy to actually incorporate this into the substantive motion.
That's certainly fine by me. Thank you.
Okay, so that is now part of the substantive motion. So that the substantive motion was moved by Councillor Sadler and seconded by Councillor Bulbeck. So that is now part of the substantive motion, so we don't need a vote on that. Then Councillor Bulbeck, you had another amendment.
So this one adds a third point to the substantive motion, which says includes in the survey in relation to questions 14A and 14B an indication of the costs associated with treating Norfolk Island pines to be more climate resistant.
Is there a seconder for this motion? Councillor Thomas. Councillor Bulbeck, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah. So the amendment seeks to give survey respondents some idea of the rate increases involved in replacing Norfolk Island pines which fail to thrive. The officer's recommendation originally proposed to include the calculations of these costs which were contained in the March 2024 OCM item. The revised agenda proposes not to include that whole item, the March 2024 OCM item. The potential costs of treating Norfolk Island pines with an unproven strategy are considerable. I doubt many respondents would be aware of the scale when reading the survey and its note that rate increases are necessary to cover this additional cost. Council has been presented with an estimated opportunity cost of treating mature Norfolk Island pines and an estimated dollar cost. The consultant's report in the June OCM attachments notes that replacing all our dead Norfolk Island pines over the next century with climate-resistant species, so the ones that would die, that are estimated to die, would deprive the town of in the order of planting 4,000 to 5,000 non-Norfolk Island pine species over the same analysis period. That contributes to further canopy increase. The estimated cost of treatment are $2,760 per annum per Norfolk Island pine beyond 20 years old, amounting to $1,790,100 in additional rates annually for the option proposed in the Street Tree Master Plan and therefore in the survey, which is replacing failing nips on heritage and distributor and entry statement roads. A rate increase of almost $2 million is a significant cost, one which would potentially influence survey respondents concerning how many, if any, Norfolk Island pines they believe the town should invest in sustaining in an increasingly challenging climate. Sharing an indication of the cost with survey respondents will allow them to provide informed and strategic community feedback on the best options for the town in maximising appropriate species in an environment made more challenging by declining rainfall, rising temperatures and parasite invasion, most recently the Polyphagus shothole borer, which I realise has not yet attacked Norfolk Island pines.
Councillor Thomas, did you want to speak to that?
No, nothing to add.
Thank you. I will speak against the amendment. I feel a bit like we have gone around in circles on this. I think that the information on the costs of continuing with Norfolk Island pines is speculative. It does very much focus on the worst possible scenario for Norfolk Island pines, and it ignores any costs associated with alternative species. And recently we have seen the Polyphagus shothole borer attack a number of trees. We have peppermint trees failing in neighbouring suburbs, and we don't know over the life of this, we're talking about predicting how much it would cost to replace the Norfolk Island pines over a period of time, which is quite significant, and we don't know what other nasties could be impacting on alternative species. So there's a lot of speculation, and I think it's really important that consultation be really balanced and present the issues without speculative and kind of, unbalanced information. So on that basis, I think I fully support the issue being identified and brought to the attention of participants, but I really have to object to speculative worst case scenario sort of information being provided. I think we will be criticised by the community if we were to adopt that approach. Does anyone else want to speak to the motion? Councillor Mason?
Yes, I'd like to speak against as well. I think it is biased and looks to persuade the community in a negative light towards Norfolk Island Pines.
Does anyone else want to speak to that? I'm going to put it to the vote. All in favour of the proposed amendment? That's Councillor Bulbeck. All against? That's all others. So the amendment is lost. Yeah, I saw, yeah. Please do shoot your hand up and remind me because, sorry, Councillor Heath, we see you. So returning to the substantive motion, which was moved by Councillor Sadler and seconded by Councillor Bulbeck. Now, you've both spoken to it. Did anyone want to speak against the substantive motion as it now stands? I'll put that to the vote then. All in favour? That's passed unanimously, including Councillor Heath. Thank you. Then going back to the agenda, I move that we close the meeting again to consider items 13.1.1 and 13.1.2. Did I see your hand up there, Councillor Heath? Oh, sorry, to close the meeting? Are you seconding that the meeting be closed? Yes, thank you. All in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. So.
I declare the